All right, I'm the flatratemaster, and today we're talking about basic brake tools. We're talking about basic brake tools, stuff that almost every tech should have. Now, I'm not going to get into sockets and torques or triple squares to do those brakes because that's going to vary considerably depending on what kind of car you work on. So I'm going to go over tools that you probably should have or look at getting if you're doing brakes. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is this little tool. Pretty simple. It basically pushes the caliper in. Yes, you can do the same thing with a channel lock or a C-clamp. This is a whole lot faster. And when you're on flat rate, you want fast. Now, I also have this one. You're like, why does he have both? Well, the honest reason is this is faster on most calipers. This kind of you need sometimes, especially on 4-piston calipers. It's a lot easier to push them back with one of these. Now this one is by Lisle, and I'm going to link all this stuff in the description, so if you want to look at it, you can. But it's really simple. It's just kind of like a caulking gun mechanism. You put it in the caliper and you squeeze the trigger. Not a bad idea to get this from the tool dealer because you will break it, you will wear it out. Now, Lisle has a lifetime warranty, but it might be easier if you bought it off a tool guy to just hand it back to him and get a new one. Now, this next piston compressor is made by Lisle. It's sold under a lot of brands on various tool trucks. Blue Point, Matco has it. All it is a couple of replacement pieces of metal instead of the brake pads and a ratcheting mechanism, and it ratchets out. Simple, one of those ideas you wish you had. You know, make your retirement right here. Great tool for the harder pistons to compress, 4-piston calipers, stuff like that. I'd recommend, if you can only buy one, I would probably get this one, simply because it works on a lot more things than the Lisle tool does. Now, you can buy it online, you can buy it off the tool truck, probably going to be cheaper online, and as long as you don't screw up the threads going too far out, on some calipers you may have to put a brake pad in there to shim it out so you don't overextend the screws and cause them to pop out. Other than that, dang near bulletproof. All right, next one we're going to talk about two different kinds, and I'm going to link a different one in the description. Brake caliper turnback set. This is for the calipers with built-in parking brakes. Now this is an old one I've had for forever. I bought it off the Mack truck, and it works good. The adapters, however, not enough of them. So this set I'm going to link you to, the Harbor Freight one will do great. If you're at Harbor Freight and you want to buy it. They've got a nice kit. You're going to buy the same, I'm going to basically link the same kind of set, made probably in the same factory in the description, so going to be the same tool. Now the next tool I'm going to show you, I already did a video on, and I'll link it in the description as well. SIR Tools pneumatic windback tool. Now this one is the most used tool in the shop. Everybody in the shop grabs this. Several of us have our own windback tools. We all walk across the shop to get this. Watch the video, you'll see why. Some guys, this kit is expensive, don't get me wrong. That kit is expensive, Don't get me wrong, there are cheaper options, so I'll link a cheaper option in the description as well. But it's really nice for winding back calipers. Hit the button, turn it in, quick and easy, no wrenches, none of that stuff, quick and easy. If you're on flat rate and the knockoff tool is 90 bucks, I would suggest getting it. All right, one thing we haven't talked about is measuring brakes. Now, these are going to be essential, especially for a lot of shops, because they're going to want measurements. Now, this tool right here is cheap, bulletproof, stupid easy. You basically stick it in the brake pad, and if it's 3 millimeters or less, you recommend brakes. If it's 2 millimeters, it needs brakes. So, obviously, green, yellow, red. Cheap, but a good way to quantify for your service advisor that, yes, it needs brakes. You know, some service advisors will not accept, yeah, it looks like it needs brakes. No, what's the measurement? When I worked at a fleet shop, you had to have a measurement. You had to have it's 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, you weren't selling it. Now, the next tool I'm going to show you, again, I'll link all this stuff in the description, is by OTC, and it is a vehicle, same kind of deal, except it's a little easier to get in there. You insert it in next to the brake pad with the wheel still on, you know, flat rate. Stick it in there and you've got the same kind of concept. Red, yellow, and green. Different way to measure it. Pretty cool tool. So, good way to quantify that the car needs brakes. Now the next tool is a digital set of calipers. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't have the right one. I've got a standard digital micrometer. Why? Because I'm too cheap to buy the right one. They actually sell the right one with little pointers to get into grooves, that kind of thing. My opinion on it is if it's grooved that bad, it needs rotors. But sometimes you need to measure, so that's why I have this. Now, the last section, the old timers are going to know what I'm talking about. Some of you young kids are going to go, drum brakes? What? Well, they're still out there. They're still on late model vehicles, so you may have to do them. Now, there's certain tools you're going to need, like the brake spring tool for GM trucks. They're out there. I'm not going to get into specialized tools on this video, but, you know, if you're working on them, you'll figure out you need them. As far as drum brake tools, this is a brake spoon. At some point, hopefully, it'll become history. But if you're working in an independent shop, you're going to need a brake spoon. Sometimes you can use a screwdriver. Sometimes you need the bends. So don't spend a bunch of money on these. Get them cheap. They're just a bent piece of metal that you're going to go click, click, click. So spring compressor, standard bucket style spring compressor. This is a adapter from, Snap-on with a standard 1/4 inch screwdriver handle. I mean, it's nothing real major, but it makes putting those cage style springs in a lot easier. Now these next two tools are for horseshoe clips. Now there's other specialized clips. I don't have them. I don't see drum brakes really that often much anymore. Basically, it's a clip that looks like a horseshoe, and you compress it down to hold on to a pin, and then when you're doing brakes, you got to open that thing back up. So you got one that's a wedge to kind of prop it back open. Not the best way, you know, honestly. Make sure you got the clips, because chances are they're going to be too deformed to reuse. And then I've got a set of pliers to close them back up. They sell drum brake kits. I'd look into those if you see a bunch of drum brakes. If you don't, good for you. I hate drum brakes. The last thing we're going to talk about is brake grease. Hopefully your shop's using good stuff. This will prevent a lot of comebacks for noise. We use the Ceramic Extreme from Permatex. Works well. We don't have any trouble out of it. Make sure your shop has some good brake grease. Preventing comebacks is important, so put a little dab of grease on the back of the pads and make sure they don't make any noise. All right, the last tool we're going to talk about is a brake moisture gauge. Now, they also sell test strips to determine that the brake fluid is saturated with water, or the test strips test for copper. Both good tests. One of these will help you sell brake flushes. Good little gravy thing, and it's a good thing for the car. These are cheap, so get you one. Again, I'll link it in the description. Brakes are gravy when you got the right tools, so hope you liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe. Make sure and hit that bell notification so you get notified when I put out a new video. If you didn't like the video, maybe you don't like gravy brake jobs, give me a thumbs down. Comments are always appreciated, and as always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.